Let me ask you a question. Which do you prefer? This or this? Yes, I'm being an elitist. Digital or film? Personally, I am taking film every day of the week. Film has this gritty, true-to-life quality that digital simply cannot replace. The other week, I watched this very obscure horror movie that I quickly fell in love with. And let me be clear, it was sloppy, it was clunky, it was almost amateur, but it was awesome. And I want to talk about it. Let's indulge. And the obscure horror movie that we're going to be talking about today is... No, the movie we're actually going to be talking about is Habit. Directed by Larry Fessenden in 1995, it is an independent horror movie made for a budget of right around $200,000 that was shot in New York City. This movie centers around a guy in his upper 20s, 30s. Honestly, I have no idea. Living in ragtag New York in the 90s, and he stumbles upon this mysterious woman at a party late one night. The rest of the movie unfolds from there. It is an awesome example of vampire horror, and it was shot on 16mm film. And some of the best characteristics about 16mm is that it is a really, really gritty type of film. We're talking halation, we're talking grain, we're talking dirt. The imperfections are abundantly clear, and honestly, that makes it all the more distinct. And it's a disgusting movie, which is hilarious because it looks so beautiful. The imperfections of the film really enhance all the imperfections of what is being captured on camera. In New York City, it just looks beautiful on film. This is a city that was meant to be shot on film. There's this funny thing about film, especially independent films. Film does a really good job of bailing out sloppy filmmaking. You can even see it with some film emulation softwares of the modern age. I like to slap some film emulation on top of these videos, and I think it looks beautiful. I think it looks great. But what I mean by bailing out sloppy filmmaking is that I think you can slap film or film emulation on anything and just automatically make it look better, or lend this air of edge to whatever it's being shot on or emulated with. And this movie is kind of a perfect example of it, because while I don't think it's shot in a sloppy way, it's definitely a low-budget film. And Larry Fessenden, the director, had to get creative with how it was shot in some ways. And you can definitely see that. But here's the thing about the 16mm. It is so perfect for this kind of movie. The movie that embraces the dark corners. The movie that is okay with being a little too dark. And that's one of the problems with modern filmmaking. Contrast, of course, is a huge problem. But there's not enough darkness. Everything is just so grayscale. You can see every nook and cranny of what's going on the screen, and I hate that. Robert Eggers is a perfect example of a director who embraces the darkness. Cinematography and filmmaking shouldn't be about what spaces you light. It should be about what spaces you do not light. And this movie, Habit, used that to perfection. You can feel all the grime and the sweat of this movie through the lens, and it makes it so much more interesting. You can look at the nighttime sequences in Battery Park or just throughout New York City as points when this movie truly shines. It really adds this mystique around the world when everything kind of seems to fade off into the darkness, especially on something like a horror movie like this. Something similar happens in a movie like Eyes Wide Shut. Everything is super glowy, the halation is very over the top, it feels very ethereal, very dreamlike. This movie feels the same way. And then also I just want to shout out, there's a couple autumnal sequences in the New York countryside in this movie that just look incredible on film. I'm not even talking the dark corners or anything like that. It's just autumn, New York City, the countryside. All these things were meant to be shot on film. So it's not a surprise that these scenes look incredible. Film does such a great job of creating atmosphere and creating life. The problem with digital is that it's so pristine and so perfect, and of course you can look at it, there's no imperfections at all, and it looks very modern and, like I said, just smooth and glossy and poppy and whatever. But that doesn't feel like real life. It's a little bit too pretty. It's a little bit even uncanny because it just feels like whatever you're watching is a movie. It doesn't feel like you're watching life. There are a couple different movies that come to mind when I think about how effectively film can be used in horror or in any genre for that matter. First of all, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. To this day, that is the greatest atmosphere that I have felt has ever been caught on camera. You don't feel like you're watching a movie. You feel like you're riding along with the characters as they're trudging towards their own demise. You feel hot, you feel sweaty, you feel itchy, you can feel the grime on your forehead as you're driving through this Texas summer heat in the middle of nowhere. Texas Chainsaw, another director, Terrence Malick, an early movie of his like Days of Heaven. Of course, this isn't a horror movie, but again, it captures the Texas Panhandle summer heat so perfectly. But horror specifically is a genre that excels when captured on film or when captured in creative and distinct ways. Because it's not a genre that's built around perfection. It's a genre that lives in uncertainty. It's a genre that exists with a little bit of an edge. I was watching another indie horror movie from the 2000s recently called Wreck, and this was a found footage style film. It's about a journalist who follows a group of firefighters on a night out because the journalist is creating their own little documentation of a night with firefighters, and of course the job the firefighters go to goes awry and disaster strikes. Unbelievable premise. But I don't think this movie would be as effective if it was just shot in a standard format. No, it was shot in found footage, shot on film, shot in ways that give it this edge, this way that makes you feel like you're living in the movie with these characters, distressed, panicking, on the edge of your seat, when in reality, you're sitting safely on your couch, so far from harm. But that's how they fool you. With a movie like Habit, it was very clear that they didn't have a full budget at their disposal. This is indie filmmaking encapsulated, because when this is the case, usually you have to get a little bit creative. And it's this problem solving and conflict resolution that can result in a really great end product. Because you can tell when a movie goes fully according to plan, when every shot goes exactly how it was supposed to. In Habit, that is not the case. It honestly looks like sometimes they were just thinking, roll the camera, let's see what we capture. And there's an authenticity to that I really love. This movie, Habit, simply would have come and gone if it was a movie that was shot on digital. Because part of its charm is a distinct atmosphere that it creates. You take that away and you shoot it like a modern film, and I think it loses a lot of the charm that it does have. Personally, if a movie looks a little bit ugly, if it looks a little bit gritty, rigid, clunky, oftentimes that can be okay. Because if those things lend itself to the filmmaking and the world that the film revolves in, you can get a really magical product. And that's exactly what happened with Habit. If you haven't already, go check this movie out. It's absolutely worth the watch. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is you do on this platform that is YouTube. I will see you guys next time. Take care.